All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with guide save number 6. We're going to start off here. We're already in the save. We're at the 2016 Salem GW 500, which is actually a Ford Focus. But again, apparently our folks over at Playway couldn't get the rights to use Ford Focus. So there's that. Had 6 mile run this morning. That was fun. Had some eggs and sausage, a little bit of milk, and I'm washing it down with a Pepsi Max, my friends. But let's go ahead and get into this Salem. So here's the info. Hey, don't ask me what happened to my car. I just wanted to impress this one girl. Fellers, let me tell you, don't worry about impressing the women. They're gonna come anyway. Just don't worry about it. And I think I might have crossed some big bushes, holes, and stones. And I probably passed a cactus on the way, or perhaps even two. Please spare me the reprimand as to the purpose of this car, i.e., it's not an off-road vehicle. While you're at it, check the fluid level. With this amount of sand, I was quickly out of wiper fluid. It was well worth it. It was and that's all I will say. Let me know how the repair goes. Please fix the body parts and other tasks. So let's take the order. Yeah, he's kind of missing some body panels, and it is darn filthy. Just filthy. So let's look at our order and see what we have to do to this. So we have a medium intercooler, which that typically sits right down in front of the radiator. So whatever this guy did impressing this lady out in the middle of the desert, he knocked the intercooler off and the front bumper, headlights too, it looks like. Jeez. So we got to do the oil pan too, the radiator, a couple of rims. I'm betting it's the front rims just based on how the car looks. And then we have 4 parts that are not yet discovered. And just kind of like we could tell just by looking at this vehicle, we need a front bumper at the very least. Front left fender, a new license plate in the front, the front right fender, the hood, the left headlight, the right headlight, the left side mirror, the right side mirror, and a windshield. Change the coolant and refill the washer fluid. Well, that'd be the easiest thing to adjust right away, right? And I'm betting that alternator's bad. Just look at that rust on that alternator down there. But let's go ahead and drain out the coolant. We'll go to our additional tools, drain tool. Drain on the coolant. I don't think there was much washer fluid. Let's just see what's in there. Yeah, just a smidge. And that radiator needs to be replaced. So before we put fluid, coolant in the coolant reservoir, let's pull the radiator and replace that radiator. So the first thing you got to take off when you're taking off the radiator, you got to take off the radiator fan at the front, and then the radiator on this one. Then we can go to car status, or excuse me, inventory. There's the radiator. The fans and the radiator fan housing is fine. So let's just right click that, add it to our shopping list. Go straight into the car parts shop, and let's just get a radiator A. And we'll mount that up just by clicking in the engine compartment, part mount. Click on the radiator. There's radiator A. And we'll put on the nice new fan. That's where the medium intercooler goes. Now, interestingly, the intercooler, you can't get to it while you're in the engine compartment. You got to have the car up in the air. All right, so we got that up. Let's go ahead and part unmount and refill the fluid. Okay, washer fluid's filled, and let's get the coolant in. Hopefully we didn't have to change a water pump. Probably should have tested on that first. That's all right. All right, we got coolant. So let's run some diagnostics here, fellas. Go to our OBD scanner first. We'll run that diagnostic. I think that's that front driver's side wheel on there looks rusted. That's probably the wheel we have to replace. Clearly the driver's driver's side's bad, and the right one, the passenger side front, is not there. So, I mean, clearly that needs a wheel. Oh, there's that. All right. So, the OBD scan looks fine. Let's check on the pistons and the pistons rings with our compression tester, which will also check the camshafts. You can kind of see that was in the green as it was testing, so that looked like it was going to be fine. We'll check the electrical digitals with our electronic meter. All right, we were right. The alternator's bad, and if I go to our car status, alternator, that was one of the 4 parts we hadn't discovered. And you can tell that just by the way that it is. I mean, look at the rust on that. The oil pan we knew was bad. Oh, look at this exhaust. And this is the steering rack. Look at the rust on that steering rack. That also might be a bad part. All right. Let's get back in the engine compartment, go back to our diagnostic tools, and we'll check the tread. Well, we know 1 tire is missing, so tread on 1 tire is 0. And I think the other 2 tires are actually, our other 3 tires are fine. That's good. And check the fuel system. It's going off the image that it's presenting to us. It doesn't look like it's in the green. Or maybe it's actually above the green. Yeah, it's above the green. So it should be fine. Yep. So the fuel system's alright. Okay, so now let's go to our examine mode. You can see that red wheel on the front there is bad. That's the wheel we have to replace. The oil pan is red. The alternator's kind of greenish red. We already know we're replacing that. Excuse me. Now, can I examine the steering rack? I don't think I can. What I thought. There are some parts, for whatever reason, as a mechanic looks at the parts, which is what you're doing in examining mode. You're just laying the mechanic's eyes on it, that he cannot identify. And the steering rack is one of them. The rubber bushings in the front cross member, he also can't identify just by the examine mode peek at the issue. Just checking on the engine here. We already checked most of those. I think we got a bad belt. Yeah, look at that belt. That belt is red. Do we have a pulley there that's kind of red too? Or it's just the belt? I think it was just the belt. Alright, let's just go to normal mode and check our car status. Yeah, so front exhaust section A and the serpentine belt was bad as well. So if you go back in here or go to our examine mode, you can see that front exhaust pipe that was coming off the turbo. That looked rusted as heck, and sure enough, it's red. So it's bad. Back to normal mode. Let's move the car into our first car lifter. Alright, it's up in the air. I'm going to crank it all the way up. Probably the first thing we can address, let's address that medium intercooler. Part mount. You can see the intercooler. Now when you have a part like this, if you were going to mount it, it'll pop up you don't have the part yet. Now you can press X on your keyboard if you're highlighted over that white part. That added it to my shopping list. There's the medium intercooler. I'll go ahead and purchase it. I'll remove it from my shopping list and put that on. So that part is dressed. Now we know we have to deal with this wheel. Let's look at the steering rack. Now I can't just examine it. Just looking at it, it looks rusted as heck to me. So to get to the steering rack, you have to take off the tie rods. There's the outer tie rod, the inner tie rod. We know we have to pull this wheel anyway, because we're going to have to replace it. Let's let's get this wheel off and we'll go over to the tire machine, which is over to the right here, and separate that wheel from the rim. Or the tire from the rim, excuse me. Go back to this car and let's take off the outer tie rod, the inner tie rod, and I'm going to remove the steering rack. Look at that. It's a 28% steering rack. And then let's go to our car status. And sure enough, that was the last part that we had to identify on our part list to repair. Take off this exhaust piece. And probably ought to drain the oil before we pull the oil pan. If we had pulled the oil pan without draining the oil, it'd be the same issue as in the previous videos where we had removed the water pump without draining the coolant. We would spill oil on our floor, and even though it's our shop, we charge ourselves a $50 fee for spilling oil. Kind of interesting that we penalize ourselves, but that's okay. It's our shop. We can run it the way we want, I guess. Part mount. Let's add that oil pan, that exhaust panel to our shopping list, and oil pan for the inline 4 and the front exhaust section for an inline 4B. And we can go straight to putting that on. 4 bolts there, and we'll put on that new exhaust piece. And let's get a steering rack, which is expensive. Now, another way to get to the steering rack, if you do want to use the shopping list, is you could go to your car parts store to the gearbox. I thought steering rack was in the gearbox. No, it's steering rack. I'm sorry, it's in suspension, and you could find it. Steering rack right there, 800. It's like at the bottom of the list. So sometimes if I'm just buying a steering rack, I'll just go to suspension and scroll all the way down to the bottom and just buy one. Let's put that new steering rack on. Put on the old tie rods, which are actually in good shape. There's no reason those need to be replaced. Inner and outer tie rods. Right? Now we have to address the wheel situation. Now, if you weren't sure what wheel size a vehicle takes, you can right-click, go to car status. Now, clearly, in this case, we know we need a rim, GW 500, and a sport tire. But let's say you weren't sure on the size of that tire. Go to your information of your car, which will give you the version of the car, its mileage, its weight, and then the factory tire size and what size rim we have. Now, just like I've told you previously, we can add a sport tire to our shopping list. We cannot add the size of that tire to our shopping list and then automatically put that on the shopping search engine. So again, back to my old school scratch piece of paper, I'm just going to write down 235 35 R19s, and we're going to need 2 of those tires, and they're sport tires. And then we need that rim, which we have over in our tire machine separated. So we can go here, right click on the rim, and I'll just for fun right click on the sport tire. Actually, we just need 1 new tire because the other tire was fine. Just 1. We just have to remember the new tire's got to go on the passenger side. That's it. Okay. So go to your rims, the rim store. Let's get the rim GW 500s. Now, again, we put a 19-inch rim on our shopping list. Pull up a GW 500. It doesn't automatically set the size to 19. So don't just click that and buy it. You'll end up buying a 12-inch rim and say, why is this not fitting properly? Because it's the wrong size. And we need 2 rims. So buy that. Then we'll go to the tire store. And we need a sport tire. Now, I had it on the shopping list just as an example. But I mean, the sport tire is right there. But I'm I'm going to click on it off the shopping list. There's sport tire, and again, it does not auto-populate the right size tire for us. So we need a 19-inch sport tire that is a 235/35 R19. Buy that tire. And we'll go to our tire mounting spot, and this is from guide video 1 on how to mount tires. You just hit install, select the rim you want, and select the tire you want. So this is 100%. This will go on the passenger side, and then the 100% with the 84% tire we'll put on the driver's side. Balance this tire up while the other one's mounting. And take that one off and balance that one up. There we go. So pop over here. Let's mount these tires up. So the 100% tire is going on the passenger side. And then on the driver's side, we'll put the 100% rim with the older tire. And we're just going to check our status, our order, and we are good. We just have to replace the belt and the alternator and then do all these body panels, which is actually pretty easy to do. All right. So we'll get this car down out of the air. And I'm going to pop in here to the alternator. To get that alternator off, you just click down to find it. We have to take the belt off first. Now, if I just click on the belt, it doesn't come off because you got to find out which of these pulleys along this belt line needs to be removed first. So if you look at this, you can see this pulley is outside the belt. It's going to come off first. Click that pulley off. Then you can remove the belt. Then we can click on the alternator, take the 2 bolts off that are holding the alternator on. Then we're going to go back to our shop. The alternator's in the electronics store, and it's right there, you know, in the A's. So it's at the top of the list. Just buy one. Part mount. Put on the nice new alternator. And then we need a new serpentine belt. I'm just going to add that serpentine belt to my shopping list. And go over here and buy it, and then I'll take all those things off our list. Put on a new belt and a nice idler roller A. Okay, that is done. Now, as far as engine repair, we're good. The one thing we do have to do that we couldn't turn the car back to the customer without is we have to put oil back in it. We took the oil pan off. Now, it wasn't on our list of items that we had to do to change the oil. However, to remove the oil pan, you have to drain the oil. So to give it back to the customer, it has to have oil before it starts. If you were a real live mechanic, for example, and you did a oil pan change and then didn't put oil in the car, gave it back to the customer, they get about 2 seconds down the road and their engine seizes, they're never come back to your shop again. And boy, you guys are in a world of hurt as far as how much you're going to end up having to owe that customer. So we have to replace the hood. I'm going to take that off. We need the windshield replaced. I think this left side mirror needs to come off. This fender needed to come off. We're already missing the fender on the front. Let's see. So front bumper, left fender, license plate, hood, mirrors, headlight, and windshield. All right. So if I go to my shop on my tablet, body workstation, so we need a front bumper. We need the front left fender, the right fender, a hood, headlights, both mirrors, headlight, and the windshield. So we have all the body parts purchased now. Let's go to here, and when you're putting body panels on, I don't know if I did that too quick, go to your car, right click on it, and go to assemble mode. So that'll put body panels on. put on the nice new windshield and right side mirror, fender, bumper. Now to get a license plate, if you go to your stores again on your tablet, there is a plate shop. And all the plates are the same. Now you could customize them to like write in your own name or what have you. That costs more, but just buy a plate. It doesn't matter what plate. I always tend to buy Wyoming just because I love this picture of the mountains. Wyoming's a cool state. All right, Wyoming plate. Put on the headlight on that side, hood, and we'll put on the other headlight. And then we're going to put on the fender. And let's put on the new mirror. Alright, so I think that fixes all the problems this guy had impressing a girl running his car through the desert over cactuses. Let's double check. Alright, first page is done. Body parts are all fixed. Other tasks are done, so we can go here to complete order. This is an $11,000 job, folks. This is good profit here. So let's go ahead and finish that order. And we're up to 16K of cash, 16,300 to be exact, and we leveled to level 11, which is great. We got a case. Let's go ahead and open this case. I forget the numbers we had left off on the last one, but let's just start with 1 and 2. So we got some cash and some more experience. What I've found, I don't know if this is a hack or a trick or something that's intended. If you're looking for one particular thing on these cards, let's say cases, and I think you probably saw this on guide video 3, where I opened 2 cards and there was a case in here. So if I open card 1 and card 2 and there was a case, I'll go ahead and go to card 3 and 4. Oftentimes you'll find a case. Then go to 5 and 1 and you'll find a case. Go to 2 and 3 and you find a case. That tends to be the case, is the cases or whatever part you're looking for. Let's say you were looking for experience. Go on the next case. If you had more cases, go to 2 over. It seems to be 2 over from where that particular card popped. The next one will pop. That's been my experience. You guys try it. Let me know what you think. But that's what I've found. But let's go ahead and take this. Now I have all these old parts here. Let's just go ahead and sell these. And now to sell parts, you can just click on them to sell them. But I like using this sell thing to just sell everything. There we go. They're all sold. That netted us a fair amount of cash. Now we're up to almost $17,000 cash. All right, so available skill points. We have 6. It's going to cost us 5 to get the 5% next level discount. I'm taking that. Unlock. So now we have another discount. We have 1 skill point. Let's go ahead and grab the ability to repair Group 1 parts. Now we need a repair bench to be able to do that. Now how can we get a repair bench? Well, let's go over here. There's a few things we can probably buy right now. We could get our garage expansion. We could get a car wash, which is pretty helpful. We could get a welder. The tinting doesn't matter. Battery honestly doesn't matter. The workbench, that's where we could repair parts. So that'd be 10,000 plus 1,500. We have the money for it. Let's see. Let's go to our, do I have the ability to value cars? I do. Let me show you a trick on how you can make some decent money on quickly if you want to build up some cash. Let's get a car wash. Okay, car wash costs us $17.50. Go ahead and buy that. Now we own a car wash. Where's the car wash at? I'm going to save this save. Go out your back. And in the back here, we now have a car wash bay. There's nothing to work on, but this is how you would click on. This is the power washer to wash the car. This is the detailer to detail the interior of the car. Oh, there's a reason I purchased this. Just right click in space. go to our map. We're going to go to the junkyard. Okay? Junkyard. Now, if you recall, if you followed my guide here from guide 1 on, we didn't turn on the price to travel to the junkyard. If you left that on, it would be $300-400. There's some fee to come to the junkyard. All right, so this is our first trip to a junkyard. There's tons of things you can do at a junkyard, okay? If you walk, I always go to the same pattern. I always go to the right, and I follow it all the way around this junkyard so I don't miss stuff. But each pile is going to have parts in it. Now, parts that could be in decent shape, like look at this. Here's a Pagani rear clamshell that's at 98%. So you could find some parts that are in decent shape. Here's a 3-starred, oh, I didn't want to take that. A 3-star exhaust manifold. That's kind of cool, but it's only in 10% condition. Now these red parts you could just pick up and take, and the benefit there, you could take those parts and scrap them at your scrap bench and turn them into blue material. That's not an unreasonable way to get things. The other thing you can do is look for parts that are repairable, and you'll get I think there's a Steam guide on which parts are repairable, but you'll get to learn this. And probably the thing that I would recommend to think about is this a part on a car that would be a wear item? Exhaust, for example, that's a wear item. You can't repair exhaust. Headlights, you can't repair. They wear out. The door panel, you can repair that. The camshaft, it's metal. That can be actually remachined, so you can repair that. The hood can be repaired. The headlights can't. Glass can't be repaired. So if I was buying this stuff to repair, first off, you can't repair anything that's in the red. So anything below 15% can't be repaired. But this door panel, the camshaft, that hood, that door panel, and this clamshell, I'd probably buy those, and you could repair those parts and then store them in your inventory for your own cars and your own rebuilds later on. I find that very useful to get a pile of parts built up. Now, right now, we're not sitting on a ton of cash, so I'm not going to start doing this yet, partially because we also haven't leveled our mechanic up to the point where repairing parts is cost effective. But in the junkyard, there is piles and piles of parts. So if you were looking for one thing in particular, you might find it at the junkyard at a decent price. You could even challenge yourself and say, hey, I'm only going to repair all of my cars with parts that I can find on my own from a junkyard. Now here's where we're going to start to get into ways that we could make a little bit of money. So this car, its estimated value, this is because we have that skill point for our mechanic, is at 52.92. They are selling it for 55, so they're selling it for more than it's actually worth. So I'm not going to purchase this, but I'm going to try to find a car here at the junkyard that is being sold for less than its value, and you'll see why I'm doing that. And the other thing at a junkyard, in these piles of junk parts, one pile of junk parts will have a barn map. So it's worth looking at each pile, even if you're not going to buy the parts, to find a barn map. Now the benefit to going to barns, same issue, is that they have cars for sale, they have parts in bins, and every barn will have one case. And those cases, as we saw at the end of our story orders, can net you money, can net you, hey, that head was a 2-star head, can net you scrap material, it can net you a lot of things. All right. Find a barn map. Sometimes you'll find it like in the first pile of junk you look at, sometimes you'll find it. Now I wouldn't spend like forever looking through these piles of car parts to try to find the barn map. If you wanted to be real stickler about it, there is a barn map in one of these piles somewhere. So it exists. You have to take my word for that. But we will try our best to find a barn map, just to not prove that I'm not a liar. That's a good thing. All right. Hey, there's a nice Chevy van, or GMC. Let's see, what is this worth? Buy price of 56, its estimated value is 52, so we're not going to buy that right now. Right, nothing in that pile of junk. How about this pile of junk? A barn map. Nope. Come on, barn map. Show up just so that I can be right. Nope, nothing there. We're butting up against my hard stop that I'd given myself of 8 o'clock, so we got a few minutes. Come on, get up this hill. There we go. Nope, nothing there. Hey, there's a Jaguar over there I can see. Hopefully this... Typically sports cars like this are going to be pretty good cars to flip. 18, it's worth 17. Well, we have yet to find it. Hey, there's the barn map, see? Just like I was saying. One pile, so now I'm not going to even bother looking at the rest of the junk piles because I found the barn map. Just trying to find a car. Here we go. It's not a huge price difference, but look at the price of this Luxembourg. It's $4,900 is its value. They're selling it for about $100 less. And we're just going to buy this one as an example. We're going to take this to our garage. So we just spent $4,000. Let's just go around one more time, see if there's any other cars. That looks like a Lotus. Lotus? Yep, it's a Lotus. 69 worth 65, so we're not going to mess with that one. Nothing this way. This is my pattern path. There'll be sometimes a car sitting here. Okay, there isn't. Alright, so we found all the little hiding spots for cars. Let's go back to our garage. Now to do that, you just go escape, back to garage. You have to pay 94 credits. With our discount, it's 80 credits for that barn map. But it's worth it, because we get a great case. Alright, so if we go to our inventory, we have the barn map. Just click on it, it adds it to our list of locations. So if we right click here to our map, we now have 6 barns we can travel to. So that'll be 6 cases we can find. Which 6 cases with potential for money, experience, and most importantly, scrap. That blue material that you're going to want to start holding on to. But let's look at this. So this car status, look at the frame, 28%. And it's missing a ton of parts. Now some of those old crap parts that you get from those customer orders, you could have hung on to those, and then we could put them on here if they fit. That's one thing to do. Keep them in your inventory of parts. But I'm going to look at this car. Now, if I just went to this car and sold it right now, it's already a $100 profit. Now, let's see if we can improve that profit quickly without having to do a lot of extra work. Let's take it to the car wash. And we're just going to wash the car. And then I'm going to pop over here to the detailer. We're going to detail it. Now, I haven't done anything else other than wash it and detail it. $500, and it costs us no money other than the investment in the car wash initially to get that. That's a $500 profit. Now, there's one other thing you can do for a quick improvement in profit is we could weld this car. Now, right now we don't have the welder. If we go to our garage expansion, the welder costs us $5 grand. It is a big investment, but I'm gonna buy it. Alright, so we have a welder now. The welder sits right here. It's apparently like an acetylene torch welder. So right click on it just like moving the oil drain tool. Move it to our first rack. Right click on the tool and go use equipment. It costs us 900 credits to weld this car. So we have a $900 investment right off the bat. Our profit was like already at $500. Now look at this. Car status, 1,900 credits. So it cost us $900 to weld it. Then we basically ended up getting another almost $1,000 of profit here from doing that. So let's go ahead and sell the car. Boom. And now we're up to $1,102. So as you're starting to get into the game, and we're looking for some quick ways to start to build up some money so that we can start expanding our garage, we can start purchasing our own cars, we can start, getting rid of this old rusted barn or bus here and put in a second rack. That all takes money to do that garage expansion. 10K right there. The second lift is 2,500. Salvaging is 2,500. So we need a little bit of money to expand this. A test pass, 10,000 bucks. That's a useful tool. So that's where we're going to end this video. So we've finished story car number 6. We have been to the junkyard. We have a car wash. We've leveled our mechanic up to 11. We have a welder, and we found a quick trick to find barn maps and a quick trick to try to make some profit on cars, finding cars that are valued more than what the junkyard is selling them for, or potentially the barn is selling them for. So those are some quick tips that we've learned on this one. Lucas, Parker, Isaac, hope you like this. But thank you for your attention, and we will see you in the next one. And the preview for the next one, it's a 1998 Ripson Starline, which is a Nissan. But again, apparently they didn't pay all these manufacturers to use their stuff. So you guys have a good day, and we'll be back in Guide 7 soon.